What if Donald Trump is elected president again in 2024? What would happen to the United States? Would the country become more divided? Would our standing in the world decline? In this video, we'll explore the potential impact of a second Trump presidency on the United States. So stay tuned, and let's find out what the future could hold. Hi everyone, and welcome to my channel, another episode of Alternate Reality. Today, we're going to be talking about what the United States could look like if Donald Trump is elected president in 2024. Trump is a polarizing figure, and his policies are likely to be just as divisive. So, what could happen if he's elected again? In this video, I'm going to talk about some of the potential changes that could take place in the United States under a second Trump presidency. I'll also discuss some of the challenges that the country would face if Trump is re-elected. The erosion of trust in government. The erosion of trust in government is one of the most significant potential impacts of a second Trump presidency. Trump has repeatedly attacked the media, the intelligence community, and other institutions of government. He has called the media the enemy of the people, he has accused the intelligence community of being rigged against him, and he has repeatedly undermined the legitimacy of the judiciary. These attacks have eroded public trust in government institutions. A poll conducted in 2021 found that only 25% of Americans trust the media, only 22% trust the intelligence community, and only 31% trust the Supreme Court. If Trump is elected president again, he is likely to continue to attack these institutions. This could lead to a further erosion of public trust in government, which could make it difficult for the government to function effectively. There are a number of reasons why Trump's attacks on government institutions are so damaging. First, they undermine the credibility of these institutions. When the president attacks the media, it makes it more difficult for the media to do its job of holding the government accountable. When the president attacks the intelligence community, it makes it more difficult for the intelligence community to provide the president with accurate information. And when the president attacks the judiciary, it makes it more difficult for the judiciary to uphold the rule of law. Second, Trump's attacks on government institutions sow distrust among the public. When people see the president attacking these institutions, it makes them less likely to trust them. This can lead to a decline in civic engagement as people become disillusioned with the political process. Third, Trump's attacks on government institutions can embolden those who want to undermine these institutions. When the president attacks the media, it makes it more likely that people will believe conspiracy theories about the media. When the president attacks the intelligence community, it makes it more likely that people will believe that the intelligence community is part of a deep state conspiracy. And when the president attacks the judiciary, it makes it more likely that people will believe that the judiciary is biased against him. In short, the erosion of trust in government is a serious problem that could have a number of negative consequences if Trump is elected president again. It could make it difficult for the government to function effectively, it could lead to a decline in civic engagement, and it could embolden those who want to undermine our democracy. More isolationist policies. Trump has already withdrawn the United States from several international agreements, including the Paris Agreement on climate change, the Iran nuclear deal, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership. He has also imposed tariffs on goods from China and other countries. These actions have made the United States more isolated from the rest of the world. They have also damaged the United States' reputation and made it more difficult to work with other countries on global challenges. If Trump is re-elected, he is likely to continue to pursue more isolationist policies. This could lead to increased tensions with other countries, and it could make it more difficult for the United States to address global challenges such as climate change and terrorism. There are a number of reasons why Trump's isolationist policies are so damaging. First, they make it more difficult for the United States to cooperate with other countries on global challenges. When the United States withdraws from international agreements, it makes it more difficult to address problems like climate change and terrorism. Second, Trump's isolationist policies damaged the United States' reputation in the world. When the United States is seen as an unreliable partner, it makes it more difficult to build relationships with other countries. Third, Trump's isolationist policies can lead to increased tensions with other countries. When the United States imposes tariffs on goods from other countries, it can lead to retaliation from those countries. This can lead to a trade war, which can damage the economies of both countries. In short, Trump's isolationist policies are a serious threat to the United States' national security and its global standing. If Trump is re-elected, he is likely to continue to pursue these policies, which could have a number of negative consequences for the country. Domestic policies that benefit his base. Number 1. Tax cuts for the wealthy. Trump has promised to cut taxes for the wealthy, and he has already signed into law a tax cut that disproportionately benefits the wealthy. These tax cuts could benefit Trump's base of support, but they would also increase the national debt and make it more difficult for the government to fund programs that benefit the poor and the middle class. A study by the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy found that the Trump tax cuts would add $1.9 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. The study also found that the tax cuts would disproportionately benefit the wealthy, with the top 1% of earners receiving an average tax cut of $51,140, while the bottom 20% of earners would receive an average tax cut of $60. The tax cuts could also make it more difficult for the government to fund programs that benefit the poor and the middle class, such as Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. This could lead to cuts in these programs, which could have a negative impact on millions of Americans. Number 2. Deregulation. Trump has also promised to deregulate the economy, and he has already rolled back a number of regulations. These deregulation efforts could benefit Trump's base, but they could also lead to environmental damage and safety hazards. For example, Trump has rolled back regulations on air pollution, water pollution, and consumer safety. These rollbacks could lead to increased pollution, which could have a negative impact on public health. They could also lead to more accidents, which could put people at risk. In addition, deregulation could make it more difficult for the government to protect consumers from fraud and abuse. This could lead to more people being harmed by scams and other forms of financial exploitation. Number 3. Increased inequality. The combination of tax cuts for the wealthy and deregulation could lead to increased inequality in the United States. The tax cuts would give the wealthy more money, which they could use to invest in assets, such as stocks and real estate. This would further increase their wealth, while the poor and the middle class would see little benefit from the tax cuts. Deregulation could also lead to increased inequality. When businesses are not subject to regulations, they can pollute the environment, pay their workers low wages, and engage in other practices that harm the poor and the middle class. Reduced government services. The tax cuts and deregulation could also lead to reduced government services. The government needs money to fund programs that benefit all Americans, such as Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. If the tax cuts and deregulation lead to increased deficits, the government may have to cut these programs. This could have a negative impact on millions of Americans. In conclusion, the domestic policies that Trump is likely to pursue could benefit his base of support, but they could also come at the expense of other groups, such as the poor and the middle class. These policies could lead to increased inequality, reduced government services, and environmental damage. Increased nationalism and patriotism. Trump has repeatedly used nationalist and patriotic rhetoric. He has called for a wall on the U.S.-Mexico border. He has banned travel from several Muslim-majority countries, and he has said that America is great again. This rhetoric has appealed to some Americans, but it has also alienated others. It has also led to an increase in hate crimes and discrimination against immigrants, Muslims, and other minority groups. If Trump is elected president again, he is likely to continue to use nationalist and patriotic rhetoric. This could lead to further division and unrest in the United States. Potential changes in the environment, healthcare, immigration, and race relations. In addition to the general trends mentioned above, there are also a number of specific areas where the United States could change under a second Trump presidency. For example, Trump has rolled back environmental regulations, and he has expressed skepticism about climate change. If he is re-elected, he is likely to continue to do so, which could have a negative impact on the environment. Trump has also tried to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and he has made it more difficult for people to get health insurance. If he is re-elected, he is likely to continue to pursue these efforts, which could leave millions of Americans without health insurance. Trump has implemented a number of policies that make it more difficult for immigrants to come to the United States. He has also separated families at the border and detained immigrants in inhumane conditions. If he is re-elected, he is likely to continue these policies, which could have a devastating impact on immigrants and their families. Trump has repeatedly made racist and inflammatory remarks. He has also emboldened white supremacists and other hate groups. If he is re-elected, he is likely to continue to do so, which could lead to increased racial tension and violence in the United States. It is important to note that these are just some of the ways that the United States could change if Donald Trump is elected president in 2024. It is impossible to say for sure what the future holds, but it is clear that Trump's presidency would have a significant impact on the country. In conclusion, the potential impact of a second Trump presidency on the United States is a complex and multifaceted issue. There are a number of potential positive and negative outcomes that could result from Trump's policies, and it is impossible to say with certainty what the future holds. However, it is clear that Trump's presidency would have a significant impact on the country, and it is important to be aware of the potential risks and rewards before making a decision about whether or not to vote for him. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video informative and thought-provoking. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel for more content like this. I know that the future can be uncertain, but I believe that we can make a difference. By staying informed and engaged, we can make our voices heard and shape the future of our country. Thank you for being part of the solution.